Baltmatrix here, and today we're taking a look at Transformers, War for Cybertron Siege, Leader Class Ultra Magnus. This figure was provided, or actually loaned to me for review by my good friend Grimlockamus, otherwise known as @ChromeTyranno on Twitter. He is a very good customizer and a very good friend of mine, and I greatly appreciate him lending me this figure for review. I have this figure pre-ordered at BigBadToyStore.com, but it has not yet arrived yet. The figure is on multiple wheels that move back and forth with no problem. His alt mode is that of his classic car carrier that is rather bonkers in the transformation. We'll get into that in a little bit. It comes with 5 different accessories, 2 black guns, 2 shoulder missiles, and 1 big, and I do mean big, main cannon. In alt mode, the figure is quite long, as you can see with a deluxe class figure right here, and it easily outpaces any deluxe. The deluxes can sit on top of the vehicle in alt mode, however they cannot be stored inside. Some of the smaller Legends class figures can fit inside. There is one issue I have though, and that is the gauntlets that are wielded in its combined mode. I haven't figured out a place to really put them, so they do kind of just bang around inside the cage there a little bit. Unfortunately, my good friend Grimlockamus did not send me directions, so I kind of just had to play everything by ear. Just a quick 360-degree view of the figure in vehicle mode. You could see just the whole thing. It's a really nice vehicle mode. I have a few very minor nitpicky complaints. One, there's a lot of dead space right here behind the front wheel. Not a big deal. And 2, the robot feet, which act as the bumper in vehicle mode, are kind of tilted at odd angles. Yeah, that's just me being nitpicky. I do greatly appreciate, though, that they painted the rims on the wheels. The only amount of battle dirt that is visible on this figure in this mode is up here at the front. There is just a smidge here at the front of the grille, and at the very back on the back bumper. Transformation into the first robot mode, or the core robot mode, is pretty simple. It requires just simply removing the entire rear of the vehicle mode from the body. To start with, come to the sides of the first set of tires, and pull the cage away from the body, and then come to the top where the red part is, and just kind of unpeg it from the rest of the body. And then the last thing to do is pull the Once we've done this, we want to kind of wiggle the rest of the cage along the body away from the vehicle, open it up, and unclip it from these clips sticking off the side. Inevitably, when you do that, you will free the body away, but there is this little piece right here that you do have to be careful of, because you might rip that off. Probably won't, but just be careful. And then we can just throw all this stuff off to the side, and I don't believe this does anything, so we will just put it off over here. Now, the truck mode we end up with is pretty okay. I think the only thing that's really stupid is the fact that the feet are sticking out and the fists are sticking out. But you're really not supposed to display this in vehicle mode all that much. Transformation for this is pretty darn simple. To start off with, come to the back of the vehicle mode and open up the shoulders. And then when we do that, we can then reach into the front of the cabin, pull it open, and then flip out the head, close that up again, and then bring the shoulders all the way. Then the entire chest section, which is this blue and white section, will slide back along this slide and snap into place. And that slide requires a ton of force to move forward and to move back. So, yeah. So we do end up with this cute little Gerwakishi mode, or not Gerwalk mode, more like just a little track mode. Turn the figure around 180 degrees, and then just fold the legs down. And stand the figure up, and straighten out the arms, and turn the fists. And before I forget, we can flip out the heels, and that is kind of important. The stark white robot mode that we end up with is really cool, except for the giant truck bit hanging off his butt. Apparently that part does come off, but it requires so much force, I'm really not willing to try and pull it off right now, since this is not my figure. I legitimately like this stark white look at Ultra Magnus / Not Prime. I think it works pretty darn well, and it's probably the best inner core Magnus we've ever gotten, except obviously for the giant front cow catcher hanging off his arse. The head sculpt is quite excellent, though I do think the red eyes are a bit much. Head is on a ball joint, can look up down that much, can look down that much, can swivel side to side with no problems. Shoulders are on a swivel and then a hinge for in and out, and then a swivel at the upper arm. Bend at the elbow is 90 degrees, and then a nice swivel at the wrist. There is torso articulation for the transformation, a nice meaty ratchet for the hips, and then a softer plastic ratchet for in and out movement. There is very limited thigh swivel and a nice 90-degree bend at the knee and some ankle articulation. Thanks to the posability, you can pull off some pretty sweet poses. However, he is a bit bricky and blocky, and the thing hanging off his butt does create a little bit of weight, so you do have to be worried, or not worried, you do have to be careful about posing him, because he does have a tendency to tip over easily, thanks to the literal junk in the trunk. Putting the core of Magnus next to Optimus Prime in the Siege line, you can see just how different they are. Every component on both of these figures, actually, the only component that these figures share is the head. The head is the same mold, everything else is different. I mean that, everything. Even the fists. See, Magnus's fists are a lot bigger. Now, through the review, you've noticed that I've had the thing on his butt. And I'm sure plenty of you have already commented in the comment section that, oh, you're doing it wrong, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I took a look at P.A.'s review. My good friend P.A. from TFW 2005. So, what you have to do is first extend Ultra Magnus all the way forward, like you're going to transform into vehicle mode, and then line up his spine with this little white section that's right in the middle of the front of the vehicle mode. Then push down on that section on his spine right here. That will free up and push this tiny little button so that you can push it, slide it up, and then slide his back into place. So there you have a much cleaner Ultra Magnus. He still has some vehicle kibble on his back, but again, it's much cleaner now, and it's not hanging off his butt. I think that works a lot better. That is a very neat gimmick. I would never have figured that out on my own. Thanks, Ben. Now, before we get into the actual merging of Ultra Magnus with all of his kibbly components, the first thing we need to do is slide Magnus forward and then slide this section back onto his butt. So we just push Magnus forward, and then we could slide this down, and it snaps into place. And we could slide Magnus back into place, like so. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what his feet will do first. Okay, we're going to start with the right leg. Taking the rear component of the vehicle mode and the cage, you will notice there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins on this whole section. So turn it so that the inside of the foot or the leg component is facing you, and open up that 5th slot or 5th pin. Come to the first pin, fold in towards the back of the vehicle mode. Come to the 3rd pin, fold in, and it will look like a sandwich, like that. And then fold in the 5th pin. And then when you do that, as you're doing that, fold that 4th pin in so that this section will latch into the opening here. And these little latches will latch into this column here, like that. And it all goes into place very neatly, very nicely. And again, yet another thing that without directions, I probably wouldn't have figured out. And then grab Ultra Magnus, fold up his heels, and slide the leg into place. These peg holes, right where my thumb is on the inside of the foot, will peg into these, or this clip, out here. And it just kind of friction clips into place. And do the same thing for the other leg. This is for the left leg. First pin, fold. Third pin, fold. And then push in, bring around, and peg into place. And then slide the foot in. And do it without any drama. Next up are the shoulders. So the way you can tell where they're going to go, peg or green peg goes in the back, and then the openings go pointing towards into the figure, and then there are little grooves that will slide into place and then snap into place. So just do that and snap everything into place. And then for the fists, open up the fists, and then there's a peg hole or peg right inside that will peg into the peg hole on the outside of the forearm. So that is easy enough. And then finally, the head. So for this, we have to open up the shoulders. And don't worry if the shoulder pieces come off. They come off pretty easily. Open up the chest, fold the robot head up, snap that into place. Come to the entire top section. This front red piece will fold up. Then this back red piece will fold in. And we could drop the whole section on top of the vehicle mode, and it will snap peg into place in these little grooves that are in his shoulders. Like that. And then this section will fold down and snap onto the spine. And this section will fold down and snap into these little peg holes in the chest. And then we just have to add the accessories. Now, one thing I completely forgot to do is the hero waist. That is, his little waist armor folds down. He's got like a little matrix of leadership slot right there that you could see. And it will turn 180 degrees and then fold up and snap into place. And that's an ingenious little piece of engineering. Front to back MAGNUS in combined mode looks pretty cool. A little overly chunky, but pretty cool. The amount of stuff going on the back of the figure with the backpack and the butt pack, or fanny pack, is a little bit disappointing. Not that big a deal, actually. The painting on the chest works for me in vehicle mode, in robot mode. And the overall aesthetic is very good. It actually reminds me of Ultra Magnus, or the depiction of Ultra Magnus from the High Moon artwork of the original War for Cybertron / Fall for Cybertron. Head sculpt is excellent. This is probably the best Ultra Magnus we've gotten yet, and there have been a few. The blue eyes work incredibly well. The silver paint is all just so nice. Now, compared to Siege Prime, you can see that he is significantly bigger. But Siege Magnus is quite a bit smaller than the first leader Magnus that we got a few years ago. As you can see, I mean, the size difference is substantial. Posability in this mode is pretty good. Head is on a ball joint, cannot look forward or down or up all that much. Same posability as the inner robot mode. Swivel at the shoulder, hinge for in and out movement, swivel at the forearm, 90-degree bend at the fist, or elbow. Fist does articulate. Torso swivel, same ratchets. Loses quite a bit of knee articulation, though, just due to the excess mass. And there is retained foot articulation or ankle articulation for in and out. Even more so on this version of the figure, or the armored version, than the inner version. I mean, I seriously doubt anybody's ankle is going to move at that angle. This figure also has many points of connection for the different siege components. We've got holes down here on the bottom of the feet, 2 of them, a foot at the outer leg, outer lower leg, forearm peg, then a butt peg, a back peg, and then there are pegs on the back of the knees. So there's a lot of a lot of fun to be had here with this mode with someone like Cog, for example. The guns also have different points of combining. So these black guns have a peg, and then they've got a peg hole in the front of the cannon, and then a peg hole on the outside. And then the main silver gun has two pegs on either side, one down by the handle and one at the bottom or the back of the barrel. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and put both of the black guns on the silver one. I just kind of like this look. I think it works pretty well. Overall, I think Siege Leader Class Ultra Magnus is a sweet figure. I have two minor complaints about the figure. One, in combined mode, the shoulders pylons don't like to stay attached. And two, getting him back into the vehicle mode with all the kibbles and bits is a bit of a pain in the arse. Not the worst thing in the world, though. Should you pick this figure up? I definitely think you should, especially if you're a fan of the Generation 1 line. It's definitely worth having. I am sorry to see that it is smaller than the last Leader Class Ultra Magnus we got. Oh well, nothing I could do about that. So folks, let me know what you think of Ultra Magnus down in the comments. Please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Baltmatrix, and I will catch you next time.